Back in 8.3 example 2, and I'm going to do an application problem with you. And this is about kicking a football, and we know that what goes up must come down. But did you know that in sports that require the kicking or striking of a ball, that the flight of the ball is actually a parabola, and that's exactly how it goes. So let me kind of get this started. Let me kind of give you a basic idea of how this looks. The height and feet of a football that's kicked can be modeled by the function. And here's our function right here that we're going to focus in on, negative 16x squared plus 64x. And they're telling us what the x-axis is. The x-axis is time in seconds. Okay? And they're telling us the y-axis is the height, because we're looking for how high is this thing kicked. Okay? So there's our y-axis. So we're asked to find three things: maximum height, the time it takes the football to reach this height, and then how long the football is in the air. And so really what's going on here is, I'm just going to kind of draw an impromptu little parabola here, okay? So here is at 0 seconds, we're kicking the ball, it's reaching its maximum height, and then it's coming back down and landing. Okay, and the time is over. It's not in the air anymore. Okay, it's not falling anymore once it hits the ground. So this is where it hits the ground. It starts at the ground, finishes at the ground. Okay, so this maximum height is your vertex, and the vertex is going to tell you two really important pieces of information. Because remember, in a point, the x in this particular problem is time. And the y in this particular problem is the height. So if I calculate the vertex, I'm going to know not one piece of information, but actually two pieces of information. How long it took me to kick the ball and it reached its height, and then what was that height? I'm going to know those two pieces of information. So this is what we're going to do. To find the x, we're going to plug into negative b over 2a, which is our axis of symmetry formula, but it will help us find the x of our vertex as well, since they are the same number. So the opposite of b. b is 64, so I want the opposite of that, which is negative 64. And then 2 times negative 16 is negative 32. When you divide those two numbers, you will get exactly 2. So after 2 seconds, the ball will be at its maximum height. Well, to find that maximum height, we're going to take that 2 and we're going to plug it into the original formula, okay? So we're going to do negative 16 times 2 squared plus 64 times 2. I'm just plugging into that original equation that was up in our problem, earlier in our word problem. I'm just replacing the x with the 2, because now I know that it's 2. And what did you calculate? Yeah. It's 64. Okay? So right away, I know what the maximum height is. The maximum height is 64 feet. Awesome. And I also know the time to reach the maximum height. It took the kicker 2 seconds. Okay? There you go. Excellent. So that's 2 of the 3 things we needed to know. The last thing is, well, how long was the football in the air? Okay? So it started at 0, and then where did it land? Okay, so if this is the middle of my graph, there's my axis of symmetry, and the very center is 2 seconds. Okay? So how far away is 0 from 2? 1, 2 units. So let's go 2 units beyond that. And what's 2 doubled? 4. You got it. So time in the air is 4 seconds. Okay? So that kind of wraps up that particular problem. What we're doing is we're applying the things that we've learned. We applied the axis of symmetry formula to find the x, and then plugged in the x to find the y. So we now have our vertex. And then using some basic reflection techniques to figure out the time in the air. So hopefully that made sense. Now I'm going to give you a shot at this next one. You have a different formula, and I just want you to focus on finding the maximum height and the time it takes to reach that height. Those are the only two things I want you to figure out. You can graph this equation, you can do whatever you want to figure it out. I'm going to deal with this when you get to class. Just remind me, I probably will forget, and let me talk you through that. Okay, I'm going to give extra credit, 2 points, if you can tell me the maximum height and the time it takes to reach that height. Okay, good luck and bring your questions to class tomorrow.